What's up, everybody? Another fun one. One of the cool things about doing like all these shows we do and these TAC events is just meeting like really like-minded people and other entrepreneurs. And so when I was up at TAC in Utah, I met Earl Stroh with Cutter Stabilizers. Got to shoot around a TAC with them, hang out with him and his girlfriend, and they're just people who I definitely would share fire with. And I'm a very like-minded dude who's just busting his hump to create some bitchin' products. So Earl, how you doing?
Doing really well. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to have you on. It just like even getting to shoot with you guys and to see what you're doing. It was encouraging to see that and see you guys are like so many of us in this industry. I mean, there are these behemoths, right? There are these Sitkas and these Kuyus, but most of us are just like dudes trying to make it, right? Like I had a guy get pissed off at me, like you don't return my message on Facebook fast enough, and I'm like, dude, there's only four of us, you know, like it's hard when
Yeah.
when you are marketing, shipping, everything. It's hard, man. People don't see what you're going through to do it, and you're really making some really cool stuff. I'm excited to have you on to talk about it because there's a lot of companies making stabilizers, but you guys really are kind of pioneering some stuff with some micro diameter stuff and some. You have some new stuff coming out, like a new bipod type thing for all tripod or all bows. So yeah, dude, tell me about Cutter. When do you start that thing?
Yeah. Basically started Cutter in 2019. It sort of started as just a passion project type thing, right? Something that, I grew up in the bow hunting world and always kind of wanted to achieve that. How do I make money doing this thing that I'm passionate about? And like I said, Cutter just kind of started really small and it actually picked up traction super quick, and it was kind of like I didn't have a choice to keep it going. The growth was so crazy, and I think people were just getting behind it because, like you said, it was starting the dream of figuring out how to make money in this hunting world that we're so passionate about. And having a good product was a big part of it, and we are very very diligent upon like testing the products before we bring them to market. So all of our products have been through so much testing, and that's like field time, right? So like actually being out there hunting and using the products that we have, that's kind of a big piece of why we're so successful and why we've grown as fast as we have. Is we're hunters just like our customers.
Yeah, dude, and that really makes a difference too, right? I feel like a lot of these big bow companies or rifle companies, they kind of gone like venture capital style, right? And they're kind of just making things that are going to be gimmicky and they're not necessarily hunting. I mean, they are hunting products, but it's not like you get a guy like you who's got a fresh set of eyes, who's not just thinking about bottom line and is creating good gear. It's easy to get behind you. And that's one thing I've realized with the hunting industry and with my customers is like they want to see you succeed. Like there's not many dudes out like, dude, we all want to see, like I know for me, for sure, like I want to see Earl like full time doing Cutter Stabilizers and hunting all the time and just creating bitch and stuff. And like it's good, it's cool to get behind that because we all want that dream. I think it's like I bet you almost everybody listening to this podcast, like their dream job is getting to like do what you're doing right now, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's helped a lot because previous to Cutter, I was pretty much a full-time bow tech. So like I worked in that archery world with tuning bows, setting up bows, suggesting and recommending products for people to use, and all of that experience kind of came together with a little bit of manufacturing experience, and that's kind of what led to Cutter is the bow tech stuff mixed with some machine shop stuff, and that's why we were able to kind of make that happen and put out such a good product.
Yeah, man, it's very evident, like when you see it and talk to you. I bought a new Hoyt this year, so it's got all the integrated stuff in it, right? So I don't have your stabilizers on there, but I got my partner a bow when we were up at TAC, a new bow, because he was shooting this freaking whisker. You shot with him, this whisker biscuit. Like, I don't even know what this bow was. I got it at Walmart like 15
Yeah.
years ago. I have no idea. But it was embarrassing for me. You can't own Tricer and be walking around with that bow. Um, so I bought him. I actually traded a bunch of stuff. Traded a bow from a guy who owns the Bow Hitch, Armando, and then I went and got some sights, some other stuff. And I wanted to talk to you just because, like, after shooting with you, like, you took his bow and you're like, oh, I can't remember what it was, like, put a 12 and an 8 on this thing and put this weight, this weight, this weight. And I picked it up and it was like, holy smokes, it's level. Like, it was so evident that you are a bow tech and you understand archery. And that was so neat for me to see that. And I was like, dude, I want to support this guy like however I can.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a part of it, right? Is offering experience and expertise. You know, you're not only paying for the product, but you're paying for the knowledge behind the product. And that's true with a lot of stuff in the trade world. Is for good custom, blue collar type work, like you pay a lot of money, and it's not only because of the materials, it's also because of the time that it took that person to learn that skill set to provide that service. And that's no different in the hunting industry, and it took a while to figure out what these products had to be and had how durable they had to be, how adjustable, how lightweight and tough they all had to be in the category that they are, which is a premier top of the line product.
Yeah. And like one thing I really thought was kind of cool and like kind of humbling is you're still going down and putting a day in the bow shop like every week. Like you're still staying
Yeah.
fresh on the bows. You're still
Yeah, for
staying fresh on
sure.
the
And
bows
it's,
and
I mean,
understanding
it's,
the industry. Like your thumb is on it.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's fun, it's all my buddies over there, and it's pretty easy to spend a bunch of time in the bow shop just hanging out. And I think it's important that I do keep kind of that presence in that local space, because we're lucky that the shop that we have here in Denver, it's called No Limits Archery. It's a badass shop. Like, you got 40 yards indoor, you got 105 yards outdoor with a bunch of 3D targets, and you know blocks out, 4x4 blocks outside. Like, it's cool. And not to mention, the 2,000 square foot pro shop. Like, it's a destination for people to go to, for sure. So being able to stay in there and kind of keep my face around and hang out with my friends, it's awesome. It's a cool place.
Yeah, man. I can't emphasize enough using your local bow shop over. I don't want to bash like big over some of these big name companies or buying stuff online. Like there's something to be said about having a good local bow shop where you know the guys. And like something I find with like I've yet to go to one. We have like three in San Diego. I have one that I go to all the time. But I've yet to go into a bow shop where they're just like a bunch of dickheads. Like normally it's like just dudes like you that want to hang out and talk. And like my poor wife, dude, like if we'd share our location, right? Like if she sees them at the bow shop, I'm probably gonna be there for 3 or 4 hours because like it's like almost going to the bar. You're just like sitting there with your buddies, hanging out and talking. I'll walk in there for a. I always make an excuse to stop by. Like I'll just stop by. Like oh, I need a windicator, right? And I'll be in there for 4 hours, just kicking back with the owner Bruce and my friends, and then every time you go in there, someone else walks in the door, and you're just like telling stories and just having fun, talking shop.
Yeah, it's easy to do. And I mean, this is what we're passionate about. So it's very easy to start talking, and then a lot of times, unfortunately, it leads to spending a bunch of money when you didn't really even know you needed anything. But I mean, it's all part of the fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I ended up buying. I bought a flagship last year, and I ended up buying another one this year, which I told myself I never would do. But it's hard not to spend money when you're friends with the guys, right? And like I will definitely go spend money down there over going down to like we have a sportsman's warehouse down the street over here. Like I don't go in there and buy stuff, even if I can save 10 or 15%, because I'd rather buy it from my buddies and support those guys, support local bow shop. So that should be a sticker, support local bow shop. I'm probably already out there, but that's for sure.
Yeah,
What
yeah, for sure. And it's
it, go ahead.
I'm
You
sorry, dude. Go for it.
so and you also, I mean, like you're still doing all this stuff. You still have like at your house, do you have like a bow press and all that stuff at your house still, like a draw board and like are you doing everything on your own bows still?
Yeah, so I actually have it here at the cutter shop. I mean, you could probably see it just set up over there. We got it all set
Oh yeah,
up,
yeah.
and I got the draw board, I got a press, I got a saw, paper tuning jig, I got the whole thing.
Really? Yeah, we're going. My buddy Joey, I call him Joe Tech. We're going elk hunting next weekend in
Yep,
Colorado. We're going to OTC. He's actually bringing like a draw board, bring everything with him because it's like if something goes wrong, he has it there to do it. So he's kind of like he actually just got into archery like 2 years ago. And shout out to Joe. He's gonna listen to this, I'm sure. Um, he's just gone like headlong into it. Like I do my own arrows and stuff, you know what I mean? But like when it comes to like messing with cams, like I don't want nothing to do with it. Like I'm like bring it to the bow shop or bring it to Joey. But Joey's like figuring it out, and there's something cool about it. It's something like I love reloading. Like I've been reloading for probably over a decade now. Um, it's very similar to reloading when you work on your own bow and you do your own arrows and fletch your arrows, and there's something you feel more a part of it. Like when I shot I shot a pig in Hawaii last week. Um, it was with my arrows. You know what I mean? That I built. Like that's kind of cool. Put all the time into it. I think when you know your equipment like that
oh
good,
yeah,
it makes you a better hunter. Um,
for
so
sure.
dude,
That's a cool comparison with the reloading stuff because it's at the end of the day, like reloading is very simple, right? You're following a recipe and you're doing the exact same thing every single time. Working on bows is kind of like that because 99% of the time there's a quote unquote recipe that you follow to get a bow in tune. And sometimes it's just not overthinking it in your own head to get that bow to tune. You got to check these several different bullet points to get it in tune. And then that's pretty much all there is to it. But knowing the recipe is super important.
so I want to talk a bunch about bows, but we definitely want to talk about your stuff too. So let's talk about your stuff first. So cutter stabilizers, exactly what it sounds like. You build like probably the most bitchin' stabilizers in the industry now. A lot of guys build stabilizers. Probably, I don't even know, 40 people. I don't know how many people. A lot of people build stabilizers. It's just a carbon fiber
Yep.
tube with some weights on it. Why is yours different? Why is yours better?
So one thing that we really wanted to make sure that we were able to accomplish was take every material, piece, part, component, process, piece of labor, everything, and source it from within the United States. So we don't outsource or import anything. So even all the way down to the very last screw is coming from within the country here. Take that, and we went with a micro diameter carbon tube, so sub half inch. So same idea as shooting a micro diameter arrow, right? It's going to perform better in a crosswind, which when we're at full draw on a target and the wind's blowing like crazy, we
Mm-hmm.
want our pin to sit in the middle where we want it to hit, right? If the wind's blowing it all over, that's really hard to do. So shrinking that outside diameter kind of decreases that resistance. Um, Something you'll see a lot with other micro diameter bars is they'll have the small tube, but then they'll have a great big rubber vibration dampener on the outside of the bar. So we have this
Yep.
big thing again that's going to catch wind. We took that and we put it inside of our carbon tube. So all that vibration damping material is inside of that super small carbon tube. What that does, it keeps the weight overall super duper light and keeps the structure of the bar super strong. So we have the lightest possible carbon bar that we can build basically to make that weight work more efficiently. So rather than making the bow heavier for no reason, we're making the weight that we do have on the bow work for us and make it stabilize the bow, which at the end of the day, that's the goal of a stabilizer, is to help us aim better and balance the bow more efficiently.
And are you building only hunting stuff, or are you also doing target stuff?
No, so we do a full target lineup as well. So we got the hunting lineup, which we do a 6 inch, 8, 10, 12, and 15. And then target stuff, which is a little bit of a stiffer carbon because generally you're going to use a little bit more weight for a target setup. So we do that from 12 inch all the way out to 30 inch for the target stuff.
Really? And then you make what separates your back bars? Because I pretty much think like if you're going to shoot a bow now, you need a back bar. Like a back bar just sets that bow down, it
For
stabilizes the
sure.
bow. I'm a big like once I started using a back bar, it was just like I feel like it just there's something about like it's almost like putting a plumb bob. You know, hang a plumb bob from the ceiling. That weight on the bottom of the bow kind of stabilizes that bow
Yep.
out for you, left to right versus the front way kind of front to back, and so that back bar really helps me out a ton. Um, You guys make back bars as well, correct?
We do. So we have a full lineup of mounting solutions. So we have our front quick disconnect, which will let you, take the bar on and off
Oh,
the
we
front of
should
the
talk
bow
about that.
without
We need to
completely
talk about that
unscrewing
too.
it.
Yeah, we need to talk about that too. That's slick, but it's back
Yeah.
bar. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So the back bar bracket, we're basically just getting ready. By the time this podcast comes out, it'll probably be released already, but we made a few revisions to our back bar bracket to make it even better. So essentially, if you haven't used a back bar on your bow before, what it's doing is it's getting rid of all of the input from your hand that you have to put into the grip of the bow to level it, right? We have our bubble level in the sight. Um, Hand torque is not repeatable. We can't do the same thing with our hand every single time. So we're putting that weight on the other side of the bow to not only offset our accessories, left to right, but we have that forward to backward balance as well. So especially when you're shooting uphill or downhill, you've probably seen it. Your pin will get stuck below the target, and you always have to push that pin up to get it into the target. It's just how gravity works, right? It's always pulling down. So we can make that bow perform exactly how we want, not only left to right, but also up and down. So like I put a bunch of weight on my back bar to help push that pin up into the target, so I don't have to fight so hard to keep that pin where it should be.
Yeah, and I was a fan all around. Now, another cool feature is your quick disconnect because that was a slick thing. Did that come stock or is that an upgrade? I can't remember.
So you're all kind of pieced together separately. So there's lots of companies that do like the pre-built kits essentially. My thought with that was I didn't want to limit the options. Like you can pick any length bar for front and back. You could piece it together to be exactly what you want. And then the back bar bracket is separate as well. So that's what will allow you to adjust the angle. So, you're in and out, you're up and down with that back bar to get it to do what you need to. Um, and our bracket is a little different than the other ones that are out there because it uses a system that's very similar to like a CV axle on a vehicle. So it's splined. So once you lock it down, there's no moving. It's constantly gonna stay where you set it. Because generally, if your back bar moves, it's not going to be when you're standing on the range shooting by the truck. It's going to be when you're 2 miles from the truck and you don't know where it is, and then you lose your confidence in your setup.
Oh, my background moves all the time because I'm a big fan of like crawling with my bow and stuff. That's when my back bar moves on me, and I'm like, oh,
Yep.
close enough. Just pull this back a little bit. I know I moved it. Just bring it back a quarter inch or whatever. I need to take a silver marker and like mark it so I can
Yep.
actually know where it is. Because yeah, dude, I that's one thing that's really neat to have a spline on there because I need that right now because I do it all the time in my books. I use that
Yeah, dude. We can get you taken care of.
that sight say I use that sight saver. You know, you can crawl with your bow. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
Those guys are really cool. But then
I
like what
have.
happens is
Yeah, I
all
met those guys up there in Utah.
oh they're super nice dudes. But I'll use that and then I'll push my bow down. And it's no bueno. Push my back bar down. Um, So you're doing that. Are you guys only D2C or are you guys in retail well as well, like bow shops?
So we do ecom was kind of how we got started. The goal was always to be kind of ecom with dealers. So we're in a bunch of different pro shops. And then the only like box store that we do is Shields, which is a little different than some of the other box stores
Yeah.
because it's essentially when you break it down, it's a pro shop funded by a box store, right? So like Shields is cool because they're sending their guys directly to the manufacturer for training, which I
Yep.
thought was badass. There's a lot of pro shops that don't even do that. So that was kind of cool that we were able to link up with them.
Yeah. We work with Shields as well, and they've been a phenomenal partner. I actually just flew back to South Dakota a couple weeks ago. I did a training with them on like how to use a tripod, how to use what is this for, and they really have kind of like taken over when it comes to like they've got Initial Ascent in there, they've got Stone Glacier, they've got Kafaru in there. I mean, they've got like all the brands that I care about are in there. Where if I go to some of these other
Yep.
big box stores, Like, I don't want to bag on Realtree, but dude, I don't want to buy some Badland stuff for some Realtree stuff. You know what I mean? I want to buy the stuff that the Western guys are using. I want to buy the marsupial stuff. I want to buy the cutter stabilizers, right? You know what I mean? Like, I want to buy and they're selling the good stuff. Is my point. So whatever. If you're using Realtree, I'm sorry. I'm just
Yeah,
saying, like,
for
the
sure.
Shields is still on the stuff that like serious hunters are using, and they're selling it in there, and it's really cool to see them do that. And I don't know, it's been a push the last couple of years, but they've just like picked all of us up and just been a phenomenal partner to work with.
Yeah, yeah, they're cool. It's kind of my thought with the box store thing is like we had the chance to get into Cabela's, Bass Pro, Sportsman's, all that type of stuff, but you get a premium product in there and expect someone that's covering the archery department that normally works in the shoe department to sell your premium
Yeah,
product.
dude.
They're not going to know how, you know. So then what happens is it ends up not selling. They put it on clearance. Somebody sees it, and it's this top of the line product that's now on clearance that someone associates your good product with a shitty product because it's marked down. You know what I mean?
Oh, I get it, man. Like when I go to my local sportsman's, like I I don't even ask anyone for help because you ask them and like they don't know what they're talking about. When you go to Shields, they know what they're talking about. I shouldn't be bagging on Sportsman's, but it's the truth. It's like going to Walmart sometimes. Like you go to Walmart or you go to Home Depot and you're like asking for a plumbing
Oh,
fitting. You're like,
dude,
I
I worked at
don't even.
Sportsman's.
Yeah, exactly. You proved my point. Look at that. So,
Yep.
dude, so D2C. So if I wanted to get you into my local bow shop, which I do, I would just go tell them like, hey, you need to call my buddy Earl up, and you can get into like you like working with local shops too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're always looking for new dealers. I've got one of my good buddies that's handling all of the dealer relations stuff, and he does the social media stuff. So, um, still like you, there's very few of us that are working on this thing right now. I'm still doing 90% of the daily operations stuff. But yeah, I mean, you could give them my phone number. You can refer them to the website, and there's a contact us thing that we can get in contact, and I'll send them all the dealer stuff that they need. But yeah, I mean, pro shops are what's going to keep this thing rolling, keep this industry going. There's a lot of bad information on the internet, and you can really screw somebody up by sending them down that internet rabbit hole.
Yeah, dude. So if you're listening to this podcast, like when I get off this podcast, I'm gonna text my bow shop owner, and I should text Earl at the same time. I'm not gonna give you Earl's cell number, but text your bow shop owner, text him Earl's website, and be like, "Hey, man, sign up for this. This guy is legit and make rad gear because they do make some of the best back bars and stabilizers in the industry, hands down." Um, dude, so tell me about your new stuff coming out because there's some new cool stuff that I got to play with a little bit when we were out there.
Yeah, yeah. So it's always fun to try to launch new stuff right before hunting season because there's already enough shit going on. But um, so we've got, like I mentioned, the new version of our back bar bracket. Um, that's going to be coming out. The Versa stand is a universal bow stand. It's mounted to the front of the bow. Adjustable legs that extend just like a tripod, and you could actually set the bow down on the legs and then your front bar and keep your cam out of the dirt. And the whole system is super light. It's less than 5 ounces. Like I shoot with mine on the bow all the time. It doesn't change how the bow balances. And then the legs unscrew for if you're throwing it in your case or on your pack, and then you can store them that way.
So
Um,
yeah, so
then we
it uses the
also,
front bar. It uses the front bar as a stabilizer as one of the legs of the tripod, and the other two legs fold out. So just imagine like a Tricer
yep,
tripod on the front of your bow. So you just kind of fold the thing down, and you stand your bow up, and nothing is in the dirt. Your cams aren't in the dirt. Nothing's in the dirt. It's just up in the air on this thing. It's a pretty slick system.
yeah, they're sick. And I just, so it was unfortunate because we launched this thing and then we had a material failure kind of like right in the beginning, which it could have been worse. It could have been down the road. But essentially, what we had to do was we had to pull this thing that was selling like crazy from the website, which kind of sucked. But at the end of the day, I don't want to sell a subpar product to anyone. So we had to kind of go back to the drawing board, figure out what was happening, and fix it. And like I took the new version out, antelope hunting, which I'm crawling around on the ground. You know, you're beating the crap out of your bow. It's bouncing around in the truck while you're driving on those two tracks. Like that thing is good to go now, and it's awesome, and I'm stoked. And we're gonna bring them back this coming weekend, the weekend of the 24th of August.
That's awesome. And something I know about you guys too, similar to us, like if somebody has a failure, I guarantee you, you're not like, oh, well, that sucks. I guarantee you, it hurts. Like when somebody has a failure, it hurts me. Like I feel like I am
Yeah,
responsible, even though we've sold, I don't even know, 10,000 tripods this year or something. I don't know. It's stupid. Like if one fails, even though it's like 0.001, I'm like, dude, send it to my house. I'm going to give you a new tripod. I'm going to go and I'm going to send you an extra. Here's a hat or here's a bino adapter or whatever. Cause like I feel bad. So like if what happens if something we buy a stabilizer from you and that thing over time comes loose on us or something breaks? 'Cause it happens. I know it happens. It happens to everybody.
yeah. So that's another thing about us is that we decided to warranty all of our stuff for life. And I mean that's whatever, you know. I mean, when you're out there hunting, like shit happens. You slip and fall, you fall on your bow. Um, One of my buddies, Brian from Eastman's, he ended up flipping over his dirt bike and he had his bow in his backpack and he snapped his front bar off. Just like you never know what's going to happen, right? Like when you're out there, you're not really worried about taking the best care of your gear. You're worried about filling your tag. So getting to be able to focus on that and knowing that we have your back is huge. And I mean that's another reason why people have kind of got on board is, you know, we understand what it's like out there. We understand shit can get a little western at times, and we got your back.
And what I tell my teams, we have like team meetings, once a week. I tell them people paid for a premium product from Tricer, even if they did something stupid, like fall off their dirt bike and break it. That's an expensive hit. Like I know if you're spending $500 for a full Tricer setup, like most dudes, that takes some some saving to do, and it's expensive. Like I want to take care of you and make sure you're okay as you do it. So even when we do have a failure, a lot of times those failures actually make customers more loyal than before because we just like freaking go out of our way to help them. Because like you make a commitment to buy one of my things, I want to help you out. Even if you do run over your truck and do something boneheaded, I want to help you out.
Yep.
Customer service goes a long way.
Yeah.
All right, so you can go to cutterstabilizers.com. What's the website?
Yep. Cutterstabilizers.com. Cutter Stabilizers Official is on the Instagram. Um, Trying to do better with YouTube stuff too. Getting into the camera world is it's been overwhelming.
Me and you
Um,
both, my friend.
I
Me
like
and
it
you
though. That
both.
shit's fun. It's
Yeah.
terribly expensive, which is the worst part. I'm just like, I would like to have one hobby that's not ridiculously expensive, but I
No.
don't know why I haven't found one yet because they're all expensive. I got into playing golf, same thing, fucking terribly expensive.
Yeah, dude. I stopped doing golf. I started doing 3D shoots because I always say that like 3D archery is like golf but not gay. So it's like golf, but you can like talk in people's backswings and like talk crap to your friends. Like so many people in golf are so serious, and like archery's it's 3D
I
archery is
know.
actually very similar to golf. Like it's like normally it's like three or four of you, and you're just talking smack, having fun with your buddies. Like it's a good time. But yeah, golf's a fun one, man. But yeah, dude, the camera
Yeah.
thing has been a killer for me. So I'm actually filming all my hunts this year. We're gonna actually put Tricer films out this year. I'm actually paying a filmer to come with us. I have the nice cameras, but like for me to like, it honestly kind of ruins my hunts for me doing it myself. But I have like, I feel like every time I buy a camera, I need to get another one. Like I'm like, dude, I bought this camera, I got these lenses, and then we have a mutual friend, Luke Dusenberry, and he's like, oh yeah, you need a like, my camera's not a
Yeah.
full frame camera or whatever. It's only like a partial frame, So I need to go buy this. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get through this season with what I have. Because like honestly, like I feel like for me, like Sony Handycam, which is like $1,200, is like the best thing. It's like the most retard proof way to like film hunts. Like my buddies that live with us outdoors use them for years and all their videos. Like because the biggest thing with content is getting the content. If you get too overcomplicated with like crazy cameras and crazy things, then you're not going to get content, and like, that's not good. Like so with me, the Handycam, it's 4K. All I got to do is press record. It records for me. It's got a gyro in it. Like that thing is just great for me on my hunts to get content and get things done. And then also the GoPro.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
definitely
So I
suck.
got a,
Go ahead. Sorry, guys. I think we have a little bit of a delay between me and Earl. Go ahead, Earl. It's
sorry. Yeah, there is a delay. It's messing with me. But no, I got like a basically like a step below the professional Sony camera or whatever. So I mean, it's way more than I would ever need. But I mean, it's cool. It takes nice still pictures, and it's 4K video, and I mean, it's a good camera to learn how to do this stuff. And I mean, without even thinking about it, I'm 3 grand into the hole with this stupid thing, and now I'm out there antelope hunting, like taking pictures of freaking cows and horses and stuff, and sunsets, and like this is kind of addicting again. And I just like antelope hunting is probably the hardest hunt to film for sure because there's nothing to hide behind, and the lenses that you need are really expensive to be able to zoom in far enough to like see what's going on. Most of the other stuff you're closer, but like antelope hunting, you're either filming through your spotter or you're filming from 300 yards behind the person. Otherwise, you got to worry about hiding two people from an antelope in knee-high grass. So it's very logistically challenging. I brought one of my buddies out there to try and help, and he did his best, but it was still super hard, and the footage is not the best. I mean, it's just tough.
Yeah, I ended up buying. I'm using Nikon, which I probably should have went with Sony, but I already bought Nikon as it was. So I'm buying Nikon now. What you have to kind of commit to your brand because your lenses are transferable. So the lenses are the expensive part. Like my camera is only like $800. It's not the best camera. Like so I can upgrade that. But I ended up buying a lens this year for like $1,800. It goes from 20 to 400 zoom, and it's super small, but it zooms out, it zooms in, so you can get those long shots and stuff. The lenses are where the money is in these cameras, man. Because you could go down a $5,000,
Oh,
$6,000 rabbit hole real quick with the lenses to get those good shots. But I do really enjoy the picture taking and stuff. But it's just funny how like we went to Hawaii, me and Brad Hunt last week from Gritty, and we filmed. We didn't film everything because we were bow hunting and we didn't want to, it just we didn't want to ruin the hunt. But we did some. We hunted pigs with knives, and it was like the most bitching thing like I've ever done. Like it was like you felt like you got into a fist fight with your buddies, like high fiving. Once you get these pigs down, you're stabbing them in the throat, and like you're just tackling these pigs, and the dogs are going crazy. But I ended up running my GoPro for most of it. But then Brad's filming with his like I don't even know how expensive camera from Brian, $10,000, and he's getting so much more good content of like the B-roll stuff and like the dogs in the water, and I'm like, dude, that's why you're good at this and I'm not. Like they just see things like Luke Dusenberry just sees things that I don't see.
yeah. I mean, that's one thing about the camera world and for the hunting industry for that matter is like it's really easy to tell what's good content and what's shitty content, and like people won't watch shitty content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Yeah, my stuff must be pretty shitty because I don't get a lot of views on YouTube. but but I'm trying. Like I think the biggest thing to do is
Yeah,
like
I
you're
don't know,
doing it.
dude.
Yeah, is just do it right. So like you probably saw the video I put together of our shoot together. Like the biggest thing to do is just start
Yeah, it
doing it
was
and
dope.
start getting content together, and then start making films, and you're gonna get better at it. Like don't go out and buy like all. It's like the same thing with hunting. Like don't go out and buy all the gear. Like go 4 grand on Kuyu and all this stuff. Just buy something and start doing it, and you'll get the gear as you go along, right? You'll be able to add a camera on this year or a lens next year, right? Like I've had the same camera now for 2 years. I've been adding to it, and just start doing it. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better at the content stuff, and like it's getting. My videos are not as bad. I also paid somebody to edit my videos for me now because my videos were not good. The editing is like probably the most hard part about these things. And it just takes me way too long where someone else can do it pretty
Yeah.
quickly. But what I recommend anybody who wants to like film hunts or do it is just start doing it. Like get a camera and just start filming and figuring it out. And don't have high expectations. Like I don't expect to ever be putting out like Luke Duesenberry films on my own. Someday I'll hire Luke to go on hunts with me, but what I can do is start doing it and learning how to do it. And it's so important for me, like with the content creation, because a lot of my stuff, like I can handle the content stuff right now. Like that's one thing I'm good at, right? It's like go and set up 3 cameras, do a video about a tripod. I could do all that stuff on my own now. I never could have done that 2 years ago. I have all the mics, the DJI mics, the lav mics, the boom mics, the lighting. I can do all that stuff now, and like that comes from just doing it. And now I'm learning the other side, which is the hunting side, which I'm sure by the end of this year I'll be pretty good at, and I'll have a better understanding of, and just keep doing it. You got to remember these guys like Luke have been doing it for 20 years. I've been doing it for 2.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's for the spot that you and I are in. Like if you have the idea, you're like, I need to do this video real quick. Like it's nice just to be able to go do it
Yeah,
while you have the idea in your head, rather than like, hey, I got to call this guy and he's not available until XYZ date, and I gotta wait until then. Whereas, like, if I have an idea, I did it yesterday. I went and I recorded a video and edited it and sent it to my social media dude, and he posted it last night. So it's just like the ability to be able to do that is sweet for a business owner.
yeah, for sure. And it's necessary now. Like anytime we have an issue, or say someone calls and they're like, "How do I do this?" I'll make a video myself and then I'll send it off and we'll get it on YouTube, right? Like it's good to be able to have that. Like anytime someone has a question like how does this knob work? I'll make a video about that knob specifically, even if it's only a minute or a minute and 30 seconds. I'll make it and I can edit it myself, put it on YouTube, and it's done. And then I give it to my customer service rep, be like, hey, here's this video now. From now on, anyone asks that question, it's right there. Even the most like the stupidest things in the world, like how to install whatever, a bino stub in the front of binoculars. That's a video that, we have out. You can do it. Um, all right, we talked about video. We're boring everybody with our video stuff. People might be excited about that. So, dude, let's talk about
Yeah.
archery because you know a lot more about archery than I do. I've had a bow for like 10 years. I didn't get into archery until like the last year. And over the last year, I've just like fallen in love with it. I honestly would probably rather hunt my bow than my rifle right now. Um, it's just so fun. It's cathartic. I love shooting my bow every day. We'll get off this call. I'm gonna shoot my bow before I go to the gym. Um, but it's like anything, man. There's so much more to it than just picking up a bow and shooting it, man.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this is my 21st year bow hunting. So I kind of started as young as I could when, when I was a kid, and grew up doing it with my dad. So he kind of taught me the basics of bow hunting. And it took a while for me to kind of find the love for it, find the obsession with shooting a bow. And I would say it happened kind of about 10 years ago now was kind of when the bug bit me really hard, and I kind of went full send into working on my own stuff and doing all my homework and becoming a student of the game rather than pick up your bow a month before season and shoot it and make sure it's good and then go hunt type of person. Which, if you're that person, that's fine, and it's not. I will tell you, if you want to become obsessed with shooting a bow and bow hunting, you need to turn that into your lifestyle. I don't go on a lot of vacations that aren't related to hunting in some regard. And that's the way that I've chosen to structure my life. And that's okay. If you want to go and hunt for 60, 70, 80 days a year, you got to do some shit in your life to make that possible. And it's not
Hmm.
for everyone.
Yeah, man, for sure. My poor wife. Like I'm always like, well, can we hunt there? We do like one like beach thing a year. Like we'll go down to like Mexico, just me and her together. But like we're gonna go next year, and I'm gonna rent a house in Hawaii on the Big Island for a month, just so I can bow hunt. right? So the family will be there probably bow hunting. It's like finding a
Yeah.
way to bring them into it because like I am not Brian Barney and I'm such a late bloomer to the archery thing. Like it's freaking hard and I'm so obsessed with it. Like I actually was texting Brian this morning and I'm like, dude, Brian, I'll come and film for you and not hunt and just learn from you. Like I'll freaking carry your backpack just to learn from you. Cause like there's such a learning curve there for archery. It's so much more difficult than rifle. Like it's not even I don't think anyone's going to come in here and be like, "Oh, rifle hunting is harder than archery." Like, it's just not. It's just not. Other than you can hunt elk in the rut, which is kind of cool. You get some better season dates. You can hunt Arizona in the rut, with a bow. But just because you see animals, then you can kill animals. So, like, yes, you can see more animals with archery sometimes, but it doesn't mean you're killing more animals. Um,
Yeah. And I mean, um, my girlfriend Sydney, you met her. We shot up there. Like, she's got the bug as far as like shooting the bow goes. So she hadn't shot a bow up until about 9 months ago. And I mean, she's learning from me. She's learning from all the guys at the bow shop. So like, she's set up really well. And it's hilarious because when she doesn't shoot well, she gets so pissed. And I mean, it's like, listen, you started shooting a bow less than a year ago and you're expecting perfection, which I mean is partially my fault because I hold her to a really high standard with the skills that I've taught her. Um, but she's legit. We went down to Texas in June and she killed a pig out of a ground blind at 1 in the morning in the pitch black when shot a pig with her bow and perfect heart shot. And it was pretty sick. So she's gonna go on her two whitetail hunts this year to kind of get her something, a quote unquote real big game animal killed with her bow. And I mean, she loves it. She shoots her bow without me a bunch, which is sick. And I mean, you can't fake it. You're either gonna love shooting a bow or you're gonna shoot a bow as much as necessary to be proficient, and sometimes not even that much.
yeah, dude, that's the thing. Like I deal with like with my kids, right? So my kids all have bows, right? Like my three oldest boys do. And my 10-year-old shoots a little more than the other ones. My other boys never shoot their bows. Like they just don't like it's like you have to want it. Like you can't like if I have, like this isn't the piano lessons that I paid for you never did. This is archery. Like I'm not gonna take you archery hunting if you're not gonna want it. Like you can tell there's somebody who wants to be good and somebody who just wants to go out and hunt with you, right? Like my boys don't pick up their bows. Like you're not going to go hunting. Like you literally homeschool, you can do it every day and you don't do it. So like you're not going to go. Like we have an archery season that opens up in a couple of weeks in San Diego. Like you will not carry your bow on that hunt because you have not shot your bow more than 5 times this year or whatever. You shot at tack a couple times and that's it. Like you have to want it, and Sydney wants it. I can tell you for sure, dude. She's a super sweet girl. She is one of the best archery shots I shoot with a lot of women. Like she shoots freaking great. She's beautiful and she likes to hunt. Like you have got to put a ring on that finger, dude. Like sooner than later, because she's a keeper, dude. I was super stoked to hang out with her. Definitely batting out of your league, bro.
I know,
Yeah,
I know she's a badass, and I got lucky on that one for sure. And like that's one thing that I like made super clear to her is like I'm not going to force you to do this because I don't want you to like hate it and resent me for it and all that kind of shit. So like I kind of put the ball in her court. Like I gave her access to all of the tools to like have a really good bow. Like she's got a fucking $2,000 bow for her first bow. You know what I mean? Like not very many people have that option. You know what I mean? So she's got
yeah,
top of the line stuff. She's got top of the line people to rely on for knowledge and to learn from. Like if you want to take this, then you can take this as far as you want. But if you don't, then I'm totally cool with that too.
yeah. And she's into it and she gets it, which is awesome. So we should talk about that. We should talk about the bows thing because a lot of guys start out with a cheap $500 bow. I bought both my partners like basically flagship bows. My one partner that you didn't meet, I bought him a flagship, and dude, like he started shooting it, and he was just shooting pretty phenomenal. Like the bow does play a role. Like nice bows do shoot better. Like I'm not gonna like. I switched over. I was shooting a Bowtech SS34, which is a phenomenal bow, but I switched to a Hoyt, and I know the day I shot with you, I shot terribly. But dude, I'm shooting better than I've ever shot in my life right now. Like I'm just freaking drop. Like I love that bow, and I know a lot of it is just me shooting my bow every day, but a nice bow and nice equipment, it does do a lot on archery.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the archery industry is very logical. Like if it costs the company more to manufacture, then you're going to pay more for it. And generally, like a lot of that upfront cost is for R&D and for technology.
Yeah.
So having more technology on your side as far as efficiency from the bow, like efficiency is huge, right? You can pull less poundage and get more arrow speed. More arrow speed is the equivalent to more caliber with a rifle, right? So I mean, you can kill an animal with a 243, but you can kill an animal a lot farther at more angles with a bigger gun, you know? So it's very similar with a bow and getting the most efficiency out of that bow. It comes down to technology. It comes down to the time that that company spent developing that product.
So we should talk about that on arrow speed and everything because I'm shooting a 465 arrow. Or four, I think it's 460 now because I cut some off of it. 460 arrow. I'm shooting at 294. I feel like that's a freaking sweet spot for an arrow and a speed, for especially for elk. What are your takes, dude? Are you a heavy arrow slower guy? Or are you like a lighter 400 grain arrow fast guy? And why?
I'd say I kind of build my arrow setup based on the speed that I like to shoot. So I like to be 290 or faster, basically, is where I like to be. So for me, generally at a 28-inch draw length, that means that I'm going to shoot 80 pounds. It is what it is. So I'm shooting, yeah, 80-pound bow with a 460 grain arrow, and it's doing 300 feet a second. That's kind of that 290 to 300 is kind of right where I want to be. My thought there is I would rather have better trajectory, meaning that my pin gaps are tighter together. Because
Mm-hmm.
generally, the hardest part about killing an animal with a bow is the transition from ranging to see how far the animal is and shooting, right? So if I'm off 1 to 2 yards, I don't want that arrow to completely miss the animal because I was 1 to 2 yards off on my range. I want to have that forgiveness to still be in the vitals if I don't get my range perfect or if that animal moves.
Yeah, dude, I can speak to that because I definitely missed the biggest buck of the trip last week with my bow because I was a dummy. I had blown a couple stocks. Like they're very similar to antelope. They're like these axis deer, and I'd got within like 40 yards of a couple deer, and
Oh
like
yeah.
I was trying to get my rangefinder up, and they'd pin me and they'd take off. So I'm like, screw it. Like I see how long 40. I see what 40 yards looks like. The next one, I don't need to range them, which is stupid. So I freaking saw a giant buck, and I freaking make like an awesome play. They aren't pinyon junipers. They look like they imagine pinyon junipers like big bushes in the middle of this field. So I like play these trees, got in there, and this freaking buck steps out and just pins me. And I'm like, I can't range this buck. If I range it, he's gonna take off, which I should have just ranged the buck. So I was like, oh, he's 50 yards. And he was 40 yards, and I went right over his back. And then he went back a little bit further, set one more arrow, and I've never seen an animal jump the string so greatly. It was like the Matrix, dude. It went like right for the vitals, and this thing like did like almost like a 180 backflip right past him because I rushed it. And I didn't range. Like there's a process, and afterwards you're just like, what a dumbass. Like what was I thinking to not use my rangefinder? Like I have a rangefinder on my chest right here. Just range it real quick, drop the rangefinder, pull the arrow. It just you just feel I don't know. You turn into a little kid sometimes, man. You just fall apart.
Oh man. I mean, those guys that can guess range, like that's a skill that is very very limited in the
Mm-hmm.
world. Like there's probably a handful of people that can accurately guess range out to 60 yards. That shit is hard, man, and I'm a rangefinder baby. I got to use that thing every single time. Like I can't guess yards to save my life. So I got to use that rangefinder every single time.
Yeah, man, I wish I had that one back. It's like that's one thing with archery hunting, man. It's like the highs and lows, and there's a lot more lows. I feel like with that sport, and like you just look at it and you're like, man, if I would have just ranged him, I probably would have got a shot on him. Maybe he would have taken a couple steps forward, but I would have known that he was 40 yards, not 50. And I would have sent that right over his back. But that transition. I'm glad that you said that. That transition is tough. What bow are you shooting? Curious.
So I'm shooting the PSE Mach 30. It's their carbon bow.
Hmm.
I really get along well with that Evolve cam. Um, which I think is super important. You know, when you're picking out a bow, you should shoot every single bow that's available because that brand loyalty thing, I think that's one of the dumbest things. You know, it's
Yeah.
if you're missing out on a bow that you could potentially shoot better just because of the brand, like that's you're not doing yourself any favors, you know. So I've shot a little bit of everything over the years, and just kind of found out that I shoot that Evolve cam the best out of any other bows. So I been shooting PSE for 2 years now, and unless they screw something up or get rid of that cam, I'm probably going to shoot a PSE again next year.
Yeah. The only thing I have seen different is the back wall in some of these bows are a little different. Like my Hoyt's a lot more aggressive than my Bowtech. So like I'll accidentally let off sometimes with my Hoyt, which I'm not doing it now, but for shooting a Bowtech for like a year and a half straight and then going over to the Hoyt, like I'll draw back and if you let off a little bit, you're going for a ride. You gotta catch it again, you know. Um, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
saw
like
you
I
do
have
that a couple times when we shot.
yeah, I'm like I'm getting used to it. Like I've only been shooting that bow for like 2 months. One thing I'd say too is I really like the 30-inch bows over the 34-inch bow. Like I had that big 34, and even though it was like a Cadillac, and like that's the only way I can describe that the Bowtech. It was like a Cadillac. It's so easy to shoot. It was 20 feet per second slower than this Hoyt with the same arrow. And it was a 34. Um, but
Yeah.
the 30-inch bow, I feel like is more like for me for Western hunting. I really like it because it is compact. It fits in my pack well. I can move around with it well. I feel like I can tree saddle. It's a lot more spacious for me. Uh, I like the 30-inch bow. I don't think I'm ready to go back to a 34.
Yeah, and I've generally kind of that 30 to 32 inch is where I like. Um, I do a lot of hunting out of a tree stand or out of a saddle, and having that extra maneuverability is great. And also, like, if you hunt in Texas, chances are you're probably going to be sitting in a box blind, like a wooden box blind.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they use out there. You know, there's not a ton of trees that you can put a tree stand in, and those deer are also super spooky. I mean, that's one step down from axis deer is a Texas whitetail, and if they see any movement, just like an axis, they're going to run away really fast.
Yeah, I ran a 34 in a blind in Sonora this year, and it was so hard to get that thing. Like you almost had to have it perfectly in the front of the blind and perfectly like so you don't like. Especially if I have a 29.5 inch draw, which isn't super long, but it's longer than a lot of guys. Um, to get that draw on there, and not have it hit the top of the blind, the back of the blind, like the 30 inches is much better for that. And that could be kind of why I'm letting off too. Is it's a little
Yeah.
steeper of an angle. Is probably why it's making me let off a little more too than the 34. It's just the 34 is a Cadillac. It really is. What arrows are you running?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. This year I'm shooting the Axis long range, the 4 mils. So I've got it's a 300 spine Axis long range. I cut them pretty short, so they're like 26 and a half inches, and
Mm-hmm.
I put a Victory taper lock 75 grain insert on the front, um, and then three fletch with the AAE Max Stealth vanes, which is longer profile vane, and then broadheads for most of everything except for elk. I'm going to shoot in the G5 mega meats, and then for elk, I'm going to shoot those Sever hybrid 1.5s.
So very similar for me. I'm shooting the Easton Axis 300 4 mil, same veins. I'm using their aluminum outsert. They sent me a bunch of their titaniums, but their titaniums weigh 100 grains. I didn't want to dick with making my arrow that heavy, and it would just mess everything up for me. So stuck with the aluminum. I haven't really had an issue with bending any of them with the new style.
Yep.
I'm shooting this. I shot the Beast broadheads over in Hawaii. They were devastating, that's for sure. Um, The only thing I could say about them that I didn't like is that, like, if you're putting them in your quiver, they'll spring open. Like, you got to be really careful when you're putting them in because those springs are so
Mm.
touchy. Like, I didn't like that. I did it a couple times. I didn't like that. But like flight wise, they fly literally like my field points, which is pretty crazy. Um, and then I am shooting those severs. So when I go elk hunting this week, I'm going to be carrying those severs with me. The 1.5. I don't think they're the hybrids. I think they're just their original one. I got some from them last maybe May or something. But it's their. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. It's a 2 inch. The 2 inch severs, the regular ones. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna shoot those for elk this year and see how it goes. I really don't have a preference between the two of them. They both fly really good, and they both are very lethal broadheads. So I'm gonna, probably bounce back and forth between the both of them throughout the season and see which one I like more. I can tell you that I ended up putting a second shot on this pig because I'd hit her a little far back, like kind of went. She was quarter more than I thought through the bush, and went kind of blew out through her back lung or the back of her lung and through her guts. And then I ended up getting on her, and she was like 5 yards from me, and I put an arrow into her, like through her front shoulder facing me, and it went all the way through that pig, and just came out the backside, and just those things are gnarly when they hit animals. I get to see like what it does to them. They're pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
This 2 inch cut diameter is pretty neat.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, those mega meats are pretty gnarly. I think they're probably bigger than 2 inch, but like I shot a deer with one of those frontal, and like the hole was the size of my hand. Like it was pretty
Yeah,
graphic. And I mean, the problem with those, super gigantic broadheads is generally they're a one and done. You shoot them and they're trash after that. But I mean, honestly, like with broadheads, I'm not going to be that guy that's going to replace blades and sharpen blades and do that. It's just like why,
yeah,
they're really not that expensive, and as long as they work the first time, then they did their job. I got my $10 worth.
yeah. Brad Hunt used those mega beats on his deer, and they definitely are pretty destructive. He shot at Axis with them when he was over there in Hawaii. He's a big fan of those as well. If you guys are really liking those broadheads, um, yeah, dude. So that's a lot of archery talk. I don't need to go into much. We didn't talk about your sight or anything. I know what stabilizer you're using. You're using a cutter stabilizer, that's for sure. So we always like to end with a hunting story, dude. Doesn't have to be your biggest animal. It could be any story you got. Campfire story. His with a hunting story.
Um, well, I could tell the story of my biggest whitetail that I ended up shooting last year in Nebraska. Um, so we have a few different properties that we can hunt out there in Nebraska, and last year I kind of made the decision that I was going to shoot one of three bucks that we had on camera and nothing else. So I kind of went out. The first time I went out was around Halloween. So I hunted like October 31st through November 3rd or 4th. Um, I ended up seeing one of the bucks the first morning, and it was my first hang and hunt with a saddle. And just it was a shit show. Like the tree I picked out, my straps for my sticks didn't fit around, so I had to find another tree. It's like 10 minutes until it starts to get light, so I'm scrambling trying to find a freaking tree to climb. I find a tree, run up like one stick, look up, and there's like a bird's nest of branches above me. So like I can't go higher than one stick. So
You need to bring a
I'm
saw. I learned you need to bring a saw with you on those tree saddles because I'll send you a video. I got
oh
Tethered sent me the whole deal like 1,500. I don't know what it is, 1,500 bucks, 2 grand with the tree saddle stuff. And dude, like for one, it scared the hell out of me doing it. Like I was until I got used to it. I was like, I had to get used to it. Once I got used to it, it wasn't so bad. But dude, like it's definitely like if you buy a tree saddle, like
yeah.
go practice before you go out. Like it's not like you just go out there and do it, dude.
Yeah. Which like I practiced a bunch in my backyard. Like I probably climbed the tree in my backyard, 15, 20 times, and then
Okay.
went out there. And I mean, it was a scramble to go like get up this tree. So I'm one stick up off the ground. I'm 5 feet off the ground in this saddle. It starts to get light, and I start to see deer immediately. So like this, We called him the Big Eight. He's like 145-inch 8 point. Comes in chasing does, and he stops like 25 yards away from me and stands there for a minute and a half. And I don't have a shot because of all those stupid branches that were hanging down. So I'm like watching this deer. It was one of the ones that I wanted to shoot for a minute and a half, just like cussing in my head because I can't shoot this deer. Um, so that was the first day. The rest of the season, I went out. Another time, like mid-November, I went out for Thanksgiving. I went out the first week of December. I ended up seeing that big 8 point one more time on the Thanksgiving trip, like 60 yards away. Didn't have a shot. Um, Come home after that early December trip, which I sat 2 all-day sits. I didn't see a single deer for 2 all-day sits. So I came home, put all my shit away, kind of was just like, I'm done with this. Like the year's over. And I'm just kind of, getting back into the swing of like being at home. I'm like, this is dumb. The season is still open. I need to get out there and quit being a bitch. And I need to get back out there and at least go hunt. So I go back out December 29th, sit in the tree, and right at last light, there's a little forky that comes in. He walks right underneath my tree. He's like 5 yards away. Um, he ends up turning around and going back the way he came, and like maybe a minute or 2 minutes later, I see a deer coming off in the distance, and it's like almost dark at this point. So I'm like, that's that stupid forky coming back again. So I don't set up the camera. I had my bow in my hand at least, but he gets to like 50 yards, and I realize that it's not that forky. I'm like, shit, I don't have the camera running. Like, not going to get this on video. And it's a big deer. I thought it was at the time. I was like, this is the Big Eight. He's coming in. He comes in, turns, end up shooting him, quartering away at 13 yards. He runs off. I go find him, and I got it on. I was on the phone with my business partner. I'm like, "Yo, I just shot the Big Eight." I walk up to him, and I'm like, "Holy shit! It's not the Big Eight. It's the Big 10." And it was this 170-inch, non-typical 13-point buck that we had one picture of all year. And I ended up shooting that deer on December 29th. Season closes on the 31st.
Man, that's awesome, dude. And that's what it's about. And what I'll tell everybody listening right now is when you want to quit this year on your hunts, like I'm going to get my butt kicked next week in Utah, in Colorado. We're going to spend about 2 weeks over there. Don't quit because you're going to spend the whole year thinking about that hunt and wanting to go out. Like we're buying gear, we're training, we're shooting our bows. And then you get out there and you only get to hunt for a certain period of time each year. Don't quit because I guarantee you in January you'll be thinking, man, I wish I was sitting in that tree style, freezing my balls off right now, looking for deer. Like you'll never regret staying out there. You'll always regret going home. So yeah, dude, that's a great story.
Yeah, I mean yeah, and you can see him. He's over my shoulder there. That's him. I'm still waiting on the cape to get the mount done, and
he's a stud.
He's a big deer.
Oh, dude, he's got a kicker off the back on both sides. 3, 4,
he's
5.
A tank,
6,
dude. So he's straight 10 on this side. Got that blading there, and then he's got the double kickers on that one side.
Dude, and gigantic eye guards. I mean, like 5-inch, 6-inch eye guards or something. I mean, they're gnarly.
Huge, yeah.
Bigger than your hand, that's for sure.
Yeah, and so he taped out. He had like 39 inches of mass. I mean, this shit is crazy, dude. Like I can't get my hand around that. He's a big deer, big freaking deer.
Dude, that Coos deer that I shot in Mexico this year, he's 108 inches, but he has 33 inches of mass. It's just he was all mass. I like mass. I like weird deer, man. Mass is cool. All right, dude, it's an awesome podcast. If you guys want to put a stabilizer on your bow, cutterstabilizers.com. Cutter Stabilizers official on Instagram. reach out to Earl. He is going to be the one you're probably talking to, or you'll get in touch with. If you have a local bow shop, go show them cutter stabilizer because they should be in your local bow shops. Salt of the earth people. A big fan of him in Sydney, and I wish you the best, Earl. And I'm just stoked to get to know you, and hopefully we can get out and do some more shooting together next year, and maybe do some hunts. I've never shot a whitetail, so maybe I'll go out go do some whitetail or something. I got to do that tree stand thing at some point in my life.
Heck yeah, dude. I'll warn you, you'll get hooked on it. That shit is addicting, man. It's awesome. But I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you chatting with me and getting to know me. And I had a really good time shooting with you out there in Utah. And hopefully we can do it again soon.
Thanks, bro.